the things that you want to do, but you wish you had more control over your time. You're trying to figure out how can you get started with that today, but even end up with that happening still in your future, rental real estate just might be the option for you. Today, Cynthia and I are going to go over the reasons that we got involved in real estate and how it helped get our time back for ourselves as well. So, Cynthia, I know that we work with so many different clients and you have your own unique story. I have my own unique story. Let's just talk about that and get into that a bit today, just to give people an idea of how some people might look at real estate to save them on their time for everyday life and just maybe even in the future for themselves. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you think real estate saves you time.
One of the reasons that rental real estate saves my husband, Steve, and I time is it's a pretty good return on an hour of our time. So we invest mostly in multifamily, some single family homes out of state with a property manager. So while it's not 100% passive, our work in the real estate business is more strategic. It's about picking properties, handling 1031 exchanges, making big picture and large financial decisions for the real estate business, and working with property manager. In terms of a dollar return on our time, it's been amazing.
Absolutely. I can imagine that. And then you started off in the beginning. How many properties did you guys start off with at first? What was your goal?
In fact, I just did an interview for this with Gabe Peterson on the Real Estate Investing Club not too long ago about my personal story. So we can link to that in the show notes. We started with one single family home. Now, during the Great Recession, in retrospect, we wish we would have gone all in during that first year because many great bargains were available to be had. But our first rental property didn't rent for 11 months after we bought it. So it took a while to get the renovations made. We were small potatoes with our property management. And it was beautiful property, but it wasn't great. The location was less than ideal. And so we didn't go all into the first, but eventually we just held our noses and bought more and had faith in our original decisions. And boy, was that a good decision.
I just love that. I just love that because when I first got my first rental, I was doing it more from the perspective of a single female, right? I wasn't married yet, no kids. And I think the way that I thought it was going to save time initially changed once I got married. And does my husband even want to have a rental? What does he want to do? So I thought I'll be able to have somebody rent out some rooms in the house and then it'll help me not have to pay so much every month. And maybe I won't have to work as long or something like that. I wasn't really sure in the beginning. So my time was more, someone else is going to help pay for this. Maybe I'll pay this house off sooner. And then whenever I'm ready to move, I'll just be able to move. And then
prevented you maybe from having a side hustle to try and pay all the extra things that go along with having the first house.
Yes, absolutely. Because there were certain things I didn't even think about. Originally, when you first get your first house, you might not think about some of the bills like the landscape. That was a whole thing. Who's going to cut the yard? Who's going to do those kinds of things for me? So you have to figure out and pay for those. And it helped to be house hacking because some of the money that I got for that, I was able to use for some of the unexpected expenses.
Yes. And Vekevia, do you see what some of the clients that we work with that looking for time freedom is an important goal?
Oh my goodness. A lot of our clients, and I've never taken a toll, but I would say 90% of the time or more, clients are looking for an opportunity to save themselves on time. And they're either looking at it because they're like, Vekevia, help me understand exactly when can I actually leave the job that I'm in now or cut back on my hours? Like, when will I be able to decide how often I want to work? So it's not that they won't, quote unquote, not be working because they have rental real estate. It still involves some level of involvement. But the way that they have to be involved or going to their traditional 9 to 5 is what'll be different. So they want to know, at what point will my income from my rental property be able to replace the income that I'm making from traditional work?
And that's a long stretch of time. Unless you have a very large amount of capital, that's not something that's going to happen right away. It's going to happen as the value of the real estate keeps pace with inflation over time. And those rents if you're doing a good job and raising your rents slowly over time, then eventually you'll be able to do that.
And I think you bring up a good point, Cynthia, that's important is the time, because it's going to look different for everybody. And some people, I think when you're first starting out, you could be really overzealous about it. And you think, I'm going to get a property every year. That would be really exciting. At least that's how I thought about it. At first, when you get out of college, you think you could pretty much conquer the world. Yeah, I love the idea of it. And so you might be able to. Some people can. As a matter of fact, I actually know someone that as soon as he got out of school, that was his goal. And that's the way that he accomplished it. And that worked perfectly for him. So some people might do once a year. I, on the other hand, I did a single family home. And then now we're starting to think, okay, we want to get into a multi-unit property. But that single family home allowed so much leverage for us initially that people may not originally think that might happen for them. So for instance, we were able to get another home and we were able to count that income as a part of what we already received. We were able to get a remodel done on that house and not have to come up with all the funds only on our own. We tapped into some of the equity for the property. We've been able to put the renovation into that property and double the income. And when I was transitioning from a more traditional job, we were able to use some of the income during that time frame just to help cover any gap that we might have. So if you think about it, it gives you back your time in different ways, and you get to utilize the property and the benefits of that in a way that works for your family at the time.
Let's dig into that a little bit because sometimes an aspiring real estate investor will book a call with us and they say, I want to create passive income. And they're thinking about it in terms of they don't have to do any work for that income. And that's not really how having a rental property business operates. It operates more like a business. Certainly, it's a time effective business, but somebody is talking to the tenants, somebody is doing maintenance on the property, somebody is doing repairs or turnover tasks that have to happen in between tenants. Somebody's keeping the books, for example, and paying the bills. It's not exactly 100% passive. Now, you can be hands on or hands off in a real estate business, and it's a continuum. You could be completely hands off and an accredited investor. Maybe you have a busy job in tech and you're just participating in real estate syndications and private REITs, for example, with somebody else is managing the whole thing for you. You could be a real estate investor with a professional property manager. That's how my real estate business is. You can be completely hands on in your real estate business and manage, deal with the tenants and all the maintenance issues and pay all the bills, etc. Are you going to be hands on or hands off is an important question to ask. But that term passive income is actually a tax term, and it refers to how the income and expenses are treated on Schedule E of your tax return, meaning that you're not actively working in a full-time job to create that rental income. It's passive. So it's not really that passive.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think there's this period that sometimes some people might be quicker to go ahead and get a property manager, or you think you might be, but there also is some time that you spend to interview and to figure out who do you want to be a property manager and what are you looking for. A lot of our clients will come to us and still ask, what should I be looking for? Does a person need to be local? Does that make sense? How much are they going to charge me? Do I get to write that off on my taxes? They think all of those kind of things. But originally you're trying to go to that person so they can save you on time and you don't have to be as involved. But at first, it's a relationship that you're building with them. And so you're trying to see, can I trust this person? Are they answering the tenant's issues? Are they addressing things? And then can I really be removed from it? And I think when you have maybe one or two properties that you're juggling, or maybe just a handful, it might be easier. But over time, that starts to suck up quite a bit of time for most people. And so they might decide which direction they want to go. Do they want to go ahead and hire someone, or are they truly, maybe they're going to step back from the job that they have and start to manage their properties more on their own?
It's very hard, in my observation, it's very hard to scale a real estate business significantly without moving towards a professional management model. Now, that could be somebody that is exterior to your real estate business, depending on how large it is, right? So if you have 5 or 6 rentals, you're hiring a professional property manager. That could be, eventually, if you have a lot of doors, could be hiring people on your team and they take responsibility for a lot of that day-to-day stuff. For you, your job then as the real estate investor is to go out and find new deals, look at your capital structure, make good use of leverage, and make strategic decisions in the real estate business.
That's exactly correct. And it's a trade-off because sometimes we think about how much we might have to spend to get the help that we need, but your team ends up saving you time, especially if you have the right people on your team. You have that, like our clients, for instance, you have that financial planner in place. You have a person who already understands real estate when it comes to financial planning, who already understands real estate when it comes to tax planning and estate planning. And when you have that team together, oftentimes that's going to save you quite a bit of time and research of having to do on your own, or them having to take time to do research to figure out how to exactly help you.
So let's think in a little bit about why people want time freedom. And this somebody 62 years old, I think about this a lot. Why do so many people in their 30s and early 40s want to be work optional? So there's something happening in the world of work that isn't feeding people's souls in the way that work used to feed people's souls. There have always been people that were frustrated with their day jobs and wanted to escape the cubicle. Historically, it's been like that. But there's more of this, I think, than when I was in my 30s, for example. Some of that is wonderful that people are realizing that they can take control of their own destiny through some kind of entrepreneurial venture. And I'm 100% in favor of income diversification and having this mindset that your income comes from you. Have a W-2 job that just happens to be how it shows up in your check. But the people they're missing something from the work environment that they're trying to find. Sometimes work optional doesn't really mean, oh, I want to go to the golf course or have lunch with my friends. It might mean pursuing a passion project or starting a business and having that financial freedom that comes from having your basic bills paid through the net rents in your real estate business or other dividends.
That's exactly correct. A lot of clients, and even myself, I found myself in that situation where you want to be more creative in terms of your buckets of where you get your money from. Yes, you know that you need X dollars, but you can make X dollars in different ways and still have the cumulative of what you need. But you might get back more time with your family, or you might get back more time to travel. I know for a season, my husband was a travel nurse, and I was able to take more time to do like some consulting. And then at one point, we don't do it as much now, but we had Turo and we were car sharing business and renting that out. And those things work. So we continue to look for ways to be able to fill our bucket with these quote unquote passive, right? Still are doing things that you need to, but a different way to make money. And I think you bring something up, Cynthia, like it was like even pre-COVID, we already saw a lot of people trying to be more entrepreneur or look for different ways to be able to hold their income in their house without relying only on W-2. Because while it's certainly nothing wrong with W-2 income, but it's just that if someone were to get laid off or something were to happen, I think just the anxiety that kind of comes with, I could stay on this job for 10, 15 years and maybe get laid off from work. Yeah. For whatever reason. And then you might be laid off from work, but you still got to pay your mortgage, you still got to pay your rent, the kids still got to eat. And so I think people just feeling that tension. And I think a lot of people realizing that times have shifted. So I think about my parents, and my dad was an entrepreneur, but I think about my mother in more traditional work. They were setting aside the things of pensions and on different retirement benefits that people might have. And there's just a certain level of longevity between the employer and the employee. And I think a lot of that has changed and shifted over time.
Yeah, it doesn't really in my adult lifetime. That contract is broken between the large institution, right? The corporation or the government institution and the people who work in it on a day-to-day basis. There's no sense of, in most industries, there's not that same sense of, okay, I'm going to work in this place for a really long time. If I do a good job, I'll get promoted. I have career prospects within a particular corporate structure. Well, that doesn't happen because, of course, it still happens. But everybody knows somebody that got laid off at a really inopportune time. And the level of fear around that is real. And some people want to prepare for that by diversifying their own sources of income.
That's absolutely correct. And I think, especially as people look into opportunities like real estate investing, and you think about traditionally some types of investments, you may think that you have to have quite a bit of money to be able to get involved. People are realizing, especially even clients that we deal with, that house hacking could be step one into it. And house hacking has so many benefits. And I think back when I first rented out a room in the house, I don't even know if the term house hacking was a thing, that I had never heard it, but you're like, let me rent out a room. And now this is a big deal now. I have clients that I talk with who we're talking through about, hey, it's actually for them, it's financially feasible if they rent out a unit. So they're looking at multi-unit property so that they can step their foot or their toe into it and get involved in building wealth and helping pay bills and still not missing out on real estate.
That's right. If I could give my 20-something one piece of advice that was related to money, it would certainly be to house hack. Instead of at the time I was focused on, could I get the next cool apartment with a better view
Yeah.
and more space? But I wish I'd spent that money. I was in Washington, D.C. at the time. I wish I'd spent that money on a house or a condo and
Yeah.
renting out the other rooms in it.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point, Cynthia, because we always have clients across the spectrum of age in terms of getting started and where they are in the process of real estate. And some clients we have really built their rental real estate portfolio and they started in their 40s.
Or I started when we were 40, in our early 40s. I think I was 40 and he was 42.
Yeah.
And he was able to walk away from his job in reinsurance as a reinsurance executive. We hit our number when he was 55.
Yeah. And it's good for clients. And we help clients through that process of how to think about their rental. It's a business. They're building a business. And in the early years, maybe the margins are a little bit tighter. And I can say that you certainly can say it with the number of properties that you have, that over time though, it does grow and it gets better. And then you just are better positioned, I would say, to be prepared like your husband to be able to cut back at 55. You'll be better positioned long term to be able to make those decisions that you're wanting, but you have to start planting the seeds and preparing properly early. So you also don't want to make decisions and grab the wrong rental. And we walk clients through that process as well.
What do you think, looking across all of these hundreds of clients that we work with, what are some common themes as to what people want to do with their time for you?
A lot of times people are wanting time back with their family and to travel. And I find that a lot of people have worked really hard doing all the right things to get to a particular salary or degree or whatever it is that they know will help them progress in their particular industry or career path. And a lot of times they get there, but it requires so much consistent hard work and they made so many sacrifices. Maybe they didn't spend the amount of time with their family, they haven't traveled enough, etc. And then I think you get to a point where you start to see maybe some people got sick around and they didn't get a chance to enjoy. And I think they just look at that situation and say, do I really want this for myself or how much longer can I do it? I want to feel more relaxed when I get up in the morning. I want to know I'm spending the time with my kids and that I've sown seeds in places that when I'm much older, it's really going to have mattered to me.
Yes. So good. So good. One of the things that I see is that when people have hit their number, so to speak, or when they're ready to move on to being work optional, is part of the reason that they've managed this is that the process creating so much initial capital and reinvesting so much money in your real estate business and then taking care of the 401k and the Roth IRA, backdoor Roth IRA contributions and all the things, right? The process of that financial independence process means that by the time they get to be work optional, that their lifestyle expenses have not grown disproportionately with their income. So they've always made space to save a lot. And for the people who are looking to be work optional in their late 40s or 50s, we're talking a lot. We're talking about people who save 25 to 40% of their income invested in assets and growth. But they didn't necessarily start that way when they're in their 20s. They might have started with their first house hack. But as their income grows, they're not spending their rental income. They're reinvesting it in more real estate or other assets. And so when folks get to that period and now they're work optional, they don't have they don't have humongous liabilities. They're not looking at the $4 million house, for example, most of the time.
Yeah.
They've got a nice life, but they've set themselves up to succeed because their lifestyle expenses are reasonable.
That's absolutely correct. And they're looking for what's next that moves in the direction of where I actually want to go. And I think something unique that I love that we get to do here is we have options where we work with clients who are prepared and they take that next step. And this is how you transition from the real estate properties that you have and what do you do next with them in terms of taking it on into retirement, if you will. And when I say quote unquote retirement, really, because it just means financial freedom is how we define it at Real Life Planning. Where you get to do what you want to do with your time. And
we use the word retirement, actually.
Yeah.
People aren't going to stop creating and contributing to the world. We like work optional.
Yes, work optional. Yeah. And even if when we meet potential clients and we're talking with them, just trying to see what it is they're looking for, even they may not phrase it with that, but that's exactly where what they're describing falls into that work optional. So one of the things that I really enjoy about rental real estate is if you're a person who's already saved quite a bit, that's great. Real estate is an excellent option. Maybe you're already in it. And we enjoy those conversations as well. I love that. But even if you're like, I don't really feel like I make enough, rental real estate can also be an option where you can get involved in it. There are different programs where you might be able to get your first home and be able to house hack so that you can start to create an extra income for yourself instead of maybe only relying on increases or promotions from W-2 income.
Yeah. So the moving from the task of any investment project is to move from trading time for money to to a model where your money makes money for you. And there are lots of ways, obviously, to do that, including the money that you're saving in your 401k or in a tax brokerage account. But by the unique factor of income producing real estate is that you're matching your capital with a leverage, right? By taking a mortgage to buy this much more expensive asset, you now enhanced your ability of your original capital to make. And so whether somebody's at the early stages where they're just considering their first house hack, somebody's in the scaling stages where they're trying to scale up for more doors and higher cash flow, or they're enjoying the work, they're enjoying the benefits of everything they built in their rental property business and are able to step away from their corporate job, live off their doors, the income from their doors, then you want your money to make money for you. You don't want to spend it.
Yes, that's exactly correct. And I think that it's important for I always my little saying that I say is like, you're the CEO of your own life. And if you are the department head, you're thinking, is each area doing what it's supposed to be doing? Is it working at capacity? And one of the areas is your income and the way that you get your income. So your W-2 income or any other ways that you might maybe do some consulting, whatever it is, that's just one area. It's one way to be able to do it. So if your W-2 income is not necessarily enough for you and you were leading that department, you would say, hey, this department needs to be able to perform better. What are we going to do? So is that going to be a promotion at work? Is that going to be taking advantage of some type of learning where you can increase your W-2 income? Or maybe you're fine with the way that you're able to contribute to your W-2 income and you don't want to have to work even harder for that next level and you're fine there. You're going to do the good job and be steady there. And you might look somewhere else and say, where can I bring in that other 1,000, 2,000 or whatever it is to work towards my goal?
What's your favorite book that you've ever read about time and productivity?
Oh my gosh, did I ever read? I like the 12-week year. That's been a good one. And I did some consulting with someone one time, and they have a group that they get together and they keep going through the 12-week year by themselves. So it allows you to take like a goal for the year and break it down into 12-week.
Yeah, that's a good one. I just listened to that again on Audible on a driving trip that I took a few weeks ago. I think my favorite that I've read in the past year is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. The idea that if whatever you can delegate or offload to your plate so that you can use your time as its highest and best use to generate more income. Super good. Very great book, especially if you're self-employed.
I love that. I love that. Reinvest in those areas where you're going to get the best return. Love it.
Yeah. There are so many good books about productivity and time management. But one thing I think all of those books have in common is the idea that time is a finite resource. If we can't get more of it in our lives, we don't really know how much of it that we have, how many years we have together. And consequently, having a healthy respect for how we spend our time and its highest and best use.
All right. Perfect. We spoke about the importance of being able to take ownership of your own time. You're the CEO of your own life. And there are many ways to do it. And real estate might just be one of those that you choose. Until next time,
Thanks, Vekevia.
you're welcome.